Hello, crafty cuties, and welcome to the first episode of Layers of Love, where we go layer by layer in our art journals to create some fun layouts. For today, I am hopping right in. You can see I have a layout here that I've already made, and I'm showing this to you because it affects my second page, which I'm going to be working on in this video. I created a window on my very first page here, so obviously that means there's a window on the other side, and I wanted this sticker that's on the right hand side to peek through that window. So these two things, don't give us a very blank canvas, but I wanted to work in order, and so I'm just going to work around this. In the future, I will just be working off of a completely blank canvas. So I'm going to go ahead and start by taking this canvas sticker off. I did trace around it so I would kind of have an idea of where I wanted to place it back, because I do want it to be on this page so that it peeks through that window, but I want to work on as blank of a canvas, as I can. So I went ahead and traced it. This just gave me a better idea of what areas I didn't need to pay too close of attention to, since it was going to be covered up by the sticker. So I just go ahead and use my pen, and then I did pull off some of the paper here, but I really wasn't concerned because it just adds a little bit of texture, and that was fine. So we're getting started here with the very first layer, which is acrylic paint. I want to mention that there is no right or wrong way that you can art journal. There's no right or wrong way, or, what am I trying to say? Order that you should be adding your different supplies in. This is just simply one way, and you're going to see that in this series there are a million different ways and orders that you can apply the different techniques and mixed media supplies. So I am just using a palette knife, you can see, to move that color around. I like using this because it really adds a ton of texture into the paint, and I'm just wanting to go ahead and cover most of my page, leaving some spaces blank just because I don't want it to be perfect. I'm going to show you that you can use your palette knife or your sponge or your paintbrush to create different textures like I'm doing here. I'm using this super inexpensive sponge, and I'm patting it on the paint. You can see I added a second color. It's still acrylic paint, just a second color, and I'm adding that right on top without any drying time in between. You can also try swiping motions and just different, I guess, ways of moving the color around that's going to give you a different result. So I really like that, and I really honestly like these sponges just because you can get such a variety of different textures and ways that you can use the sponges. We are moving on to layer 2 for this layout, and I decided to add a napkin. I went ahead and pulled it apart so that we have just that very top layer of the napkin. And I'm just using my favorite Tombow Mono Aqua Glue. A lot of people use things like Mod Podge or gesso in their art journals. I don't have any of, well, no, I do have Mod Podge, but you guys know, I just love that glue and it works great. So I'm just going to go ahead and add a piece of this napkin to the side here, and with this second layer I also wanted to include some paper. I use my paintbrush, since it has a little bit of paint, just to kind of blend those edges and really blend it into the paper. I use some of the white part of that napkin, and you could use like tissue paper as well. And I'm just going to go ahead and rip a few small pieces, and I'm going to really blend this one in. It really blends in with the paint and just adds a little bit of texture. And I'm just picking, honestly, random spots. I am not thinking this layout out very much at all. I am literally just going, and I definitely inspire you guys to do that. And if you don't like the end result, it's okay. You enjoy the time and you learned, and you could, you can kind of figure out what you like doing and what you don't like doing, what works for you and what doesn't. So here we go. I have some vintage music paper. I just had it in one of my little bins that was next to me. And so now we are moving along to layer 3, which is a stencil and some texture paste. I'm just going to go ahead and add the texture paste right onto that stencil and then just use my palette knife to kind of pull it through. Again, I am being very random. I wanted to make sure to add some of that stencil on top of the napkin and on top of the different areas that I had that tissue paper. This is the same layer, but you're going to see I'm adding a different medium, and this one was called modeling paste. So they're very similar, but in the end, they look a little bit different, and you're not going to be able to see that like in the video here, but in person it just looks like you did two different things. However, you know, it's really just working on the same layer with kind of the same idea, but like a different color or a different type, if that makes sense. So I'm using this Tim Holtz stencil here, and this gold modeling paste, I already forget what I said it was, is so pretty because it is super metallic and it's just really pretty. So I'm just picking a couple areas. Now I had leftover modeling paste on that I had squeezed out, and so of course I don't want that to go to waste. I just go ahead and I use my palette knife, and I am simply just dragging it across the page because, like I said, it was so metallic and pretty. I didn't want to waste it, and I just wanted to be very random about this page. Here's a little break. Alistair was asking for help with one of his Lego sets, and I decided to show you guys. Yeah. Layer 4, we are moving on to some ink sprays, and I love using sprays after doing stenciling and modeling paste, or, yeah. So I'm just adding a few different colors. I did not really like how dark that one was over on the right, so then I just go ahead and take a more clear spray, and I sprayed over that, and then I went ahead and I wanted to kind of move that color around, and even after that, I was not in love with it, but it's really not a big deal because we can just cover it up and move along. So I'm going to experiment with a couple more colors. I have this really pretty iridescent one from, I think it was, let's see, Tim Holtz. And so now I'm just adding texture, and you can do this with a paper towel or a baby wipe, and I'm just kind of blotting over some of the areas, and you can see I also picked up some of that dark color that was a little too dark for me. So now we're going to be moving along and prepping for the next layer, which is going to be paper. You could do die cuts or stickers, and I am just punching out my own die cuts. I'm using these tiny little butterflies, and I'm going to go ahead and kind of dip them in some ink. I'm using the Distress Oxide ink, and I'm just literally putting my little die cuts right onto the ink pad and picking up some color. This was a little time consuming, so I did speed this up, as you can see, but I just added a few random butterflies throughout the layout. Now I'm ready to add that canvas sticker back, and I just used my Tombow Mono Aqua Glue because the stickiness had kind of been pulling off. Layer 6, and now I am using some ink or paint to kind of blend the pieces into the page more. So you can see that I just really want everything to look like it's supposed to be a part of the page. And I'll do this around the edges of different things. I actually ended up covering this up, as you can see, but I did want to keep that step in there because I do think that making sure to kind of blend things into the page is an important step. And I am now adding ink to the edges here of this frame that I wanted to add over the top there. So after I am done doing that, we are nearing the end, but I wanted to add some Tim Holtz word stickers. You can always print out, you know, little sentences on the computer and just use those, or you can write on your art journal. That's another way to kind of add some interest, and I really wasn't paying attention to what these said. I just wanted them on my page. So now we're doing some final touches, and I am using a pen to just circle each word. I think it kind of adds a lot, and again, I think it kind of blends it into the page. And then I have this fun little metal embellishment for a finishing piece that I just put up in that corner. We're all done with this art journal layout. It was super fun to create with you guys. Please share any art journal pages with me on Instagram, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.